Hello, this is Brian. Today is Tuesday, July 18th, 2023, and I'm here at Crest Canyon Park at the north side of the canyon at Delmar Heights Road. It's time for a Spotlight on Shrubs video, and this is one I have been waiting to do because I don't come across this plant very often. When I do, I usually think, oh, you know what, I'll find a better time to spotlight it when conditions are better. Well, today I want to present the awesome summer holly, and it's this shrub here. This is Comarostaphylis diversifolia. Now, Comarostaphylis diversifolia is a small to quite large evergreen shrub in the Heath family, and that's the Ericaceae. And in the Heath family, it's a member of the madrone tribe, the Arbutoideae. So it has a lot of relatives here in Southern California, including Pacific madrone, Arbutus menziesii, also related to manzanitas in the genus Arctostaphylos, also related to mission manzanita, Xylococcus bicolor, which will be featured in this video for reasons to be apparent a little bit later on. And some other shrubs like Ornithostaphylos oppositifolia, the Palo Blanco, aka Baja birdbush. So, what we have here is a shrub, and it's divided into two subspecies. And I'm going to focus more on one of the subspecies and mention the other subspecies probably in its own video. So today I want to focus on the typical subspecies. So this is Comarostaphylis diversifolia, subspecies diversifolia. So what we have here is a quite lovely shrub. This one's kind of a smaller specimen, but we're going to talk about the structure of these leaves, and that's where we get the difference between the subspecies. This one here is subspecies diversifolia. Subspecies diversifolia is known for having these relatively narrow leaves that are curled under. So we're considering that revolute in botanical terms. The leaves are revolute, curled down at the edges. Medium shiny green on top with a very light fuzziness, and underneath is white and fuzzier. The white is the result of the whitish hairs underneath the leaves. They're thick and waxy, especially on the top, very narrow. They're alternately arranged on the stem. As you can see here, they alternate up and down the twig. And those are some of the major characteristics here of summer holly. Some of the leaves are much larger and wider, but on subspecies diversifolia, they're very noticeably revolute, especially in the more sun-exposed areas, less so on branches or plants that are in the shade, and the leaves will not be as tightly revolute as you see here. Sometimes they'll be a little bit flatter. Now, there's another subspecies of this plant, as I had mentioned, and that's Comarostaphylis diversifolia subspecies planifolia, and that is the flatter-leafed summer holly. And the name planifolia, which means flatter leaf in Latin, and the common name flat leaf, is that the leaves are a lot flatter on that subspecies. Much more noticeably so than on subspecies diversifolia, which is the focus of this discussion. So during the winter and very early spring months, they're going to come out with these racemes of white bell-shaped flowers. And the racemes are linear clusters, as you see here, and they're white and bell-shaped, but these are the fruits. So this is what happens afterwards. After the flowers are pollinated, then we get these small berry-like fruit that are a lot like the madrones. When they're ripened, they're kind of bristly, and they turn red, and they're a little plumper when they're mature. And that's what a summer holly fruit looks like. If you know anything about the Pacific madrone, Arbutus menziesii, or the planted strawberry tree, Arbutus unedo, you'll kind of have an idea of what summer holly fruits look like, only on a little bit smaller scale. So summer holly is a member of the chaparral community. They especially preferred north-facing slopes in the chaparral, whereas south-facing slopes are typically dominated by chamise and laurel sumac. And we get these north-facing slopes with more scrub oaks, Mission manzanita, summer holly, and a lot more species diversity. So the summer holly, again, a denizen of the chaparral, has a very close relative that can be confused with this plant. And that is going to be the Mission manzanita, which there are Mission manzanitas here. So I'm going to be able to do a little contrast. But first, let's talk about some of the other characteristics of this plant after I get a couple of still photos of this beautiful shrub. And then we can move on to some more characteristics and the range of this plant. All right, so as we're moving on, now let's go talk about some of the other features of the summer holly that would help. Some are going to definitely help with identification and separating from its close similar relatives, but some other general details about this plant as well. So what we have here are these fuzzy red twigs that have some light fuzziness on them if you look carefully. Might be hard to see it on camera, but the twigs are fuzzy as well. And then they eventually grade into the larger branches, which kind of have a brown base and some stringy gray furrows above it. So you can see the bark here is kind of stringy and furrowed. And that is actually going to help you separate this from its very close look-alike, the Mission manzanita. So again, stringy bark, stringy gray with brown undertones, these racemes of white bell-shaped flowers turning into red gritty berries. So let's go look at a plant that's very similar. So now we are looking at Mission manzanita, Xylococcus bicolor. This is a close relative. It is also a member of the madrone subtribe, the Arbutoideae. And look at this. It's got revolute leaves as well. The leaves are curly, they're revolute, they're medium green, they're very similarly colored, and they also have a whitish underside with more prominent fuzziness. So okay, so when these plants are not in flower and fruit, how the heck are we going to tell these apart? Well, one thing is, a lot of times Mission manzanita will have some somewhat broader leaves, sometimes even more revolute, but that's not always gonna help you out all the time. You can see here, some of the leaves in the lower canopy are broader and flatter, and summer holly does the same thing. So okay, the little good that does me, Brian, how the heck am I gonna use that as a helpful identification tool? Especially when the plants are not flowering or in fruit. Like this Mission manzanita does not appear to have any fruit on it. So how do I know I'm looking at a Mission manzanita instead of just another summer holly? Well, A, Mission manzanita is a plant you're much more likely to come across, as it is much more abundant here in San Diego County. Summer holly is actually kind of a rare to sometimes locally occasional species, more towards North San Diego County. Mission manzanita is abundant, very abundant. You're going to come across this one way before you come across summer holly. I can guarantee you that, in my experience, by far. The Mission manzanita, however, its bark is a lot more similar to the regular manzanitas in the genus Ericaceae. So what we have here is brown bark that's mostly smooth, but it peels off in large flakes, as you see here. When it does its bark peel during the spring and summer, it peels off in large flakes. And, as you see here, it's a lighter to a medium brown, and it's relatively smooth, again, except when it's flaking. So you see there, much smoother. And of course the color can reach a much deeper brown as well. So, mostly smooth barked with larger flake peels is your Mission manzanita. Now when the plant is fruiting, Mission manzanita doesn't have those big long, they don't have those longer linear racemes of flowers. The flowers are bell-shaped, just like on the summer holly and its other madrone tribe relatives. However, the fruits mature smooth, shiny. Here we go. Smooth, shiny, and dark brown. And the difference is these fruits are really hard. Xylococcus, woody fruit in Greek. The fruits, as you see here, they mature to a dark brown, and they are very hard. Very hard. Not something you'd want to put in your mouth. The edibility of it I don't think is there either. So, smooth bark, dark brown woody fruit is your telltale sign that you're looking at Mission manzanita, and the fact that you're going to see thousands of them before you might even see one of these summer hollies. And again, racemes. The Mission manzanita fruits are in smaller, shorter clusters. Summer holly here, longer raceme clusters. So I'm going to go ahead and take a couple more pictures of some of these plants. I'm going to take a picture of the Mission manzanita and the summer holly. But first, here's another madrone tribe relative, the Delmar manzanita. And this is Arctostaphylos glandulosa subspecies crassifolia. This is also another relative of the summer holly, again in the madrone tribe. And just like Mission manzanita, the bark is brown, it's smooth, but then it peels away. It peels away in narrower strips than on Mission manzanita. But once the bark peels away, it reveals a very smooth brown bark, which is very characteristic of the manzanitas and the Mission manzanita. Again, compare that with the striped, kind of shreddy vibes, the more gray color of the summer holly. So let me get a couple pictures, and we will talk about some more aspects of the summer holly. So again, I mentioned that summer hollies can get quite a bit larger, and as the cover photo of this video attests, this is a little bit larger of a shrub here, but they can get quite a bit larger than this. They can get probably over 15 feet tall. Like I said, this one's a pretty decent sized specimen, but I have seen them larger than this. So I mentioned that they are fans of the chaparral. Occasionally, maybe in some coastal sage scrub, but mostly moister chaparral canyons where you're most likely to find this plant. We're kind of on a northwest facing slope, relatively, or should I say northeast facing slope. We're on a northeast facing slope, and that's a lot of times where you'll find these larger specimens of the summer holly. And again, I'm going to zoom in a little bit. You can see kind of that grayish bark. It's that gray, kind of slightly shreddy, slightly lightly furrowed. Again, gray colored bark, denoting that that is Comarostaphylis diversifolia, subspecies diversifolia. Very nice specimen there. So this plant, the summer holly, is a relatively narrow endemic species, and it's basically found here in San Diego County, up towards Laguna Niguel. A good place to see it in Orange County, with Laguna Niguel's in Orange County. Good place to see it there is Seaview Park off of Talavera Drive in Laguna Niguel, near Laguna Beach. Has a population of it, and it doesn't go much further north than that. You might occasionally find it at the foot of the foothills of the Santa Ana Mountains, but it's mostly a coastal foothills. I've seen it as far inland as Escondido. I've seen it in Elfin Forest Recreation Reserve, and it's a very low elevation shrub. I don't get that it's probably extremely cold tolerant, because it is typically more of a coastal shrub, but probably up to maybe about 2,000 feet, I'm guessing. It's not a very widespread plant. It's basically a regional endemic from basically southern Orange County into Baja. I'm not sure if it goes all the way into Riverside County, but I can double check that. And it's also found on the Channel Islands. And the thing is, the Channel Islands, that's where you're most likely to find the flat leaf. The Comarostaphylis diversifolia subspecies planifolia would be in the Channel Islands. That's where you're more likely to find the flat leaf one. But I've seen specimens I am willing to bet are flat leafed here in San Diego County on the mainland, such as Soledad Mountain. That would be a good place to find it. Soledad Mountain, I think I've seen both subspecies there. And here we are coming up to some very good specimens. So Soledad Mountain, I believe I've seen the flatleaf subspecies. Here's a nice, more potential size. This one's getting closer to its potential here. Of course, I've seen them even taller than this. This is a very nice summer holly right here. I was really hoping to, by wandering over here, I was going to come across some of these. But you can see the fruit plainly developing on this beautiful shrub. If you want to see this in bloom, usually February. February is usually a pretty good time to see this plant. I saw it in bloom in February, probably February and March on Soledad. I started seeing a few flowers on them. Again, they're white and bell-shaped, but here's a very good summer holly right here. Again, raceme clusters, linear clusters of fruit. It'll eventually turn red and kind of look like your madrone or strawberry tree fruits. And again, here we go again with the stringy gray bark with some brown undertones, separating it from the smoother bark, brown bark of Xylococcus bicolor, the mission manzanita. So beautiful summer holly. Great specimens there of right here along the side of this small use trail. Beautiful shrub, and not a very common find. I believe North San Diego County, especially here in northbound from Del Mar north, is probably where you're more likely to come across, at least what I've read about the plant. But occasionally you'll get lucky. I've seen a specimen at Mission Trails Regional Park, and that's quite a bit south from here. But look at that, beautiful specimen. So there you have it. Summer holly, Comarostaphylis diversifolia, subspecies diversifolia, here at Crest Canyon Park, here in Del Mar. I want to thank you for watching my treatise of this plant. Very beautiful plant, and if you find it, take time to appreciate it, because it is a stunning shrub. Beautiful shrub. Probably be a great landscape plant too. Pretty drought tolerant. And just a beautiful plant just to enjoy here in Southern California. Thanks for watching my spotlight, and I'll see you on the next episode.